Good day, everyone. It is Rocky Top Review on Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, and MixTV.tv. And it's game day, and one of the biggest rivalries in all of college football comes to Knoxville. This rivalry started in 1899 with 50 total meetings over the years. The number one ranked and the 9-0 Georgia Bulldogs come to Knoxville to take on the 5-4 Big Orange of Tennessee. Coming off a big win last week in Kentucky, Coach Heupel has the Volunteer offense in top shape to face the number one defense in the land, Dogs and Big Orange. This week, it's Rocky Top Review, and I'm joined by Josh Rogers, Jason Cox. Guys, how are you?
Doing well.
And what happened?
Where's Shelton?
Stephen Shelton.
Hey, so last week, Scotty Mayfield comes in, and which we'll talk about that later on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Shelton picked Kentucky over Tennessee.
Yeah.
Said that Kentucky was just better than Tennessee. And the one person in the room that's not a Tennessee fan picked Tennessee last week to win. And they win, and Shelton's a no-show this week.
Had to leave the state, I understand.
Well, he posted a video of the SpaceX launch on his Facebook page, and so I'm wondering if he's even in the universe right now.
That's a good
to be honest with you.
No, that's a good question. I mean, they put back in the 60s, they put a monkey in space.
Be about equivalent.
They won't say anything.
Yeah.
Jason, what about Shelton?
I don't know. I guess he's so ashamed of his pick last week that he just hightailed it out. Maybe he doesn't want to face Josh today since Josh is a Georgia fan. Maybe that's the deal.
That's a good point.
I don't know.
Well, Jason, I want to begin with you. What a win in Lexington for UT last week.
Yeah, I would sum it up with this word: offensive efficiency. I guess that's a phrase, isn't it? That's not a word. Efficient would be my word. I mean, Hendon Hooker was 15 of 20 passing, 316 yards, 4 touchdowns. The first play from scrimmage to Javonte Payton, was something like 80-yard touchdown pass, which was nothing more than a swing pass to the left side. And it was just an efficient operation of Josh Heupel's offense throughout the course of the game. Obviously our defense looked bad. I think SEC offensive coordinators are starting to see where our weak spots are, that we have no depth. And when you run this type of offense, the defense is going to be on the field a lot. And so, again, this is one of those spots. It's going to take a couple of years to build up some depth on the defensive side to be able to complement that offense. And to complement an offense like this, Josh, is just, hey, slow down the other team. Don't let them do what Kentucky did last week. But the offensive efficiency of Tennessee and Hendon Hooker was amazing last week. It was fun to watch. It's what we've been hoping for in Tennessee for a while.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most fascinating games that I've ever seen Tennessee play in the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, that Alabama game that they played earlier this year, those first 3 quarters were unbelievable. Really, the first half was just unbelievable against Alabama. But this game, against Kentucky, I mean, it went down to the wire, and I think Tennessee fans are, excited. They love this offense. It has that opportunity to be a really high-powered offense. If you looked at they kept flashing up the time and possession all game, and it was, Kentucky had 30-something minutes time and possession, and Tennessee had like 6. It was
bizarre.
It was crazy how quickly Tennessee can score points. And the good thing is for Tennessee is that means that they can score, that they have a good offense. The problem is that they had a lot of turnovers in that game. I think Hendon Hooker ended up having 3 fumbles on the day, and so for Tennessee, the big thing is ball security and depth. This offense is out there, and they will play, and they will play well. But for Tennessee, they just have to have depth, and that takes time. You can't build a program that's gone through the turmoil that Tennessee has gone through overnight. You just can't do it. But you can get little wins throughout a year, and for Heupel, I mean, versus number 18 ranked Kentucky. I mean, on the road in the coldest place in the world. I mean, that's a big win for Tennessee last week.
Yeah.
Very
What does it mean to the program, Jason, overall, do you think?
Well, I think, like Josh said, I mean, just beating a ranked opponent on the road. It wouldn't matter who it was, but just beating a ranked opponent, it shows you we have taken a giant leap forward from last year. We've alluded to it on the show all season, how it just feels like we're headed in the right direction, and the record was kind of showing it, but maybe not really yet. That game points to that was a game we won that we shouldn't have won. Okay, Stephen wasn't wrong when he said last week that Kentucky was a better football program than football team than Tennessee. That was an accurate statement.
Sure.
But because of the offense and because of the momentum that Tennessee has, they were able to get it done in Kentucky. It is a big step forward for the program, Josh.
It is, and for Tennessee, I think what it means for the program is that the program is alive and well, right? I mean, this bus or this carload of people at the Tennessee, this bus load, they're driving down the interstate, and you got a couple flat tires here, you've got some dents and dings, you get a fender bender, and that's been the past 5, 6, really 12 years of Tennessee football. I mean, it's been a bumpy road. I mean, there's been times where they've gone off course or whatever it might be. But Heupel's in the driver's seat now, and you can tell that offense and this team is his. Looking at the past of the teams in the past, you didn't really know if the head coach was really the one calling the shots, right? I mean, Fulmer was there the past coaching staff, and so was he still having his hands in it? Whatever it might be, Heupel's the man, and they're going to live and die by this offense, and it's not going to be pretty. I think Tennessee has to understand that. I mean, Tennessee, there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be interceptions, there's going to be fumbles, there's going to be that. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to make Tennessee a high-powered offense where recruits want to come in that are speedy, that get to the outside, receivers, running backs, and that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for a Georgia or an Alabama-style offense where it's a pro-style offense, where we're going to run the ball, we're going to throw a couple times, and then we're going to run them. We're going to throw, we're going to run. They want to throw all over the field, and Tennessee can do that. This game against Kentucky proved that.
Yeah, and I think we tried to bring in, with the last regime, we tried to bring in somebody that would kind of look like Alabama and look like Georgia, and it would just take so long to get to that place.
Yes.
You almost have to do something different in this newfangled offense of let's go fast, let's stretch the field wide and vertically.
Well,
college
football, when people win like Alabama, everybody tries to copy them and repeat them, right? And there's not enough players out there to play that way. Sometimes you got to be scrappy. Sometimes you have to be the one that comes to play, and you might not be the biggest, but you better be the scrappiest, and that's what Tennessee has to start learning on defense.
Yeah.
All right, it's Rocky Top Review. Going to take our first break. We're back, presented by CHI Memorial. Back with more Rocky Top Review, Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, and MixTV.tv. We are counting down. Tennessee will welcome Georgia. Now, Boot, at 3:30 kickoff today here on Mix and Talk 101.3 The Buzz. But it's become everyone's favorite segment. Josh Rogers and the NIL search. And Josh, I got to get an update.
There is no update. Last week was the update. Scotty Mayfield came down here, thanks to my guys here, and gave me a deal. And so I love Jenkins, I love Losmas, I love Larry's, I love everybody here in town, and I'm still supporting those deals. But from here and forevermore, I'm a Mayfield man. I always will be a Mayfield man.
Oh man! And I bet that's milk and not water in that.
It is whole milk. It is whole milk.
Jason, what do you make of this?
I want to know. This past week, John Fulkerson comes out, a basketball player for Tennessee, comes out and says, "I'm going to give for all my for every point Tennessee scores this year, I'm going to give $1 back of my NIL money." What are you going to give back, Josh?
Yeah, we give a lot over at Wholesale Supply. I don't know. That's a good question. How about this? Since we're on Mix 104.1, if Georgia wins the SEC championship and the national championship, for the SEC, I'll donate $100, and for the national championship, I'll donate $500 if they win to the Empty Stocking Fund.
There we
Love
go.
it. Love
There
it.
we go.
Love
I
it.
like that.
That's awesome.
Is that good?
I don't
I
know
like
that I
that.
can cheer for Georgia in those games, but that might give me reason.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a
I
good
talked
reason.
to Scotty Mayfield over the weekend after he came in last week. He was very, very excited and very pumped about it. All right, guys. Well, it's by the way, if you're just joining us, Shelton so embarrassed he had to leave the state after his pick against Kentucky. Now, Shelton not here. We're joined, of course, by Jason Cox, Josh Rogers. Let's talk about it. Begin with you, Josh, and that is Tennessee hosting your Dogs, the number one team in the country.
Yeah, so I guess what we'll do for this part of the segment is I'll be Georgia and you be Tennessee.
That doesn't
How about
seem
that?
fair.
Is that
This
okay?
doesn't seem fair,
So,
but let's do it. I'm up for
Georgia's
it.
defense is the best in the country through 9 games. I mean, they've literally allowed 5.7 points per game so far in this. And the Dog defense have yet to give up more than 2 touchdowns a game. For Georgia, let me give this one stat: 59 points. 59 points. Fewest points allowed through 9 games since 1993. In 1993, that was the national champion Florida State. First team to allow less than 13 points in each of its first 9 games. Who was that? 1992 national champions Alabama.
Wow.
Right. So the Vols right now, they're averaging about 30 points per game. But Georgia's just given up 5.7 points. David Pollock came out yesterday, famous Dog and ESPN announcer, and said that Tennessee will score more points this week and today on Georgia than any other team has. And I don't disagree with that. I think Tennessee goes out and I think they score more than, 5.7 points. I think Tennessee maybe gets 2 or 3 touchdowns, maybe 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Because we saw last week against Kentucky how scrappy that offense was. But for Georgia, they're led by a 2-headed quarterback right now. I mean, you have Stetson Bennett that goes out there and plays and gets up, and then JT Daniels, who started the year at quarterback, he kind of comes in and handles the rest. But Georgia's really led on defense by and I'm calling it. Shelton has his hot seat. I'm going to start doing my NIL and then my Heisman candidate list. Right?
Oh, here we go.
And Jordan Davis, if he's not the Heisman Trophy winner this year and being the first Heisman Trophy winner since what would it be? Charles Woodson, I guess.
Only defender ever.
Jordan Davis is probably one of the best defensive linebacker. I mean, he's not a linebacker by any means, but he's the best front 7 player that we've probably ever seen in college football.
He just eats up space. Like crazy.
Gosh, unbelievable.
It's Jason. Look, Tennessee obviously has a tall order today at 3:30.
Well, as Coach Saban always would allude to rat poison. I hope your defenders are listening to all these comparisons of the greatest defense of all time and, the 1985 Chicago Bears. I've heard that thrown out some lately. They are amazing, and they've been so good. 13 is your number. That's the number David Pollock was talking about. 2 teams, South Carolina and Kentucky, have both scored 13 points on Georgia's defense, and that's been the top number. So for Tennessee to get more than 13, is doing something. But I do think Tennessee will do that. I think we'll score 21, 24, something like that. Here's the difference. Georgia has just stacked number 1 and number 2 ranked recruiting classes over and over and over and over again. And it's just, at this point, they are light years ahead program-wise of where Tennessee is and where pretty much everybody in the SEC is, with the exception of Alabama. Because of those recruiting classes. This is what I think is going to be the storyline after the game. It's not going to be the Georgia defense. While they're going to be good and they're going to slow our offense down without a doubt, okay, I think it's going to be the Georgia offense.
Yeah.
I think you have all those 5 stars on the Georgia offense. Nobody's talking about them. Stetson Bennett is a seasoned quarterback. He may not be the most talented quarterback in college football. Some people would argue that JT Daniels is the more talented quarterback.
Sure.
But Stetson Bennett is keeping it in the road. He's doing what he needs to. It reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning in his last year when he won the Super Bowl. I mean, he could hardly throw it down the field because of his neck injury, yet he knew what he had to do. Just keep it between the lines. Don't turn the ball over. Get the ball to your playmakers. I think Georgia, especially coming off seeing what Kentucky did to our defense, I think Georgia is going to light the scoreboard up this week. And so in spite of how great your defense is, and they are great, I think the storyline is going to be the Georgia offense.
And I think here one more stat, right? 197 total rushing yards in the last 4 years. That's all Georgia has allowed Tennessee to have in the last 4 years is 197 total rushing yards. I don't have the number in front of me, but I think Tennessee is averaging around 250 to 300 yards per game rushing for the entire year. And so with that, I think that's going to be a big key is how does this Georgia defense stop the run against Tennessee? And and it's not just that, but how does Tennessee, run the ball on this Georgia defense? I mean, there's no question that the 9-0 number 1 ranked team in the nation isn't far better than Tennessee. I mean, that is I mean, that's just duh, right? I mean, we know that. But this is college football. This is SEC football. Anybody has a chance to win every single Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, if Tennessee comes out and plays and the ball bounces their way 1 or 2 times, they don't give up interceptions, they don't give up fumbles, they're playing in Neyland, in Knoxville with 103,000, probably 50-50 Georgia and Tennessee fans. Tennessee could have a chance to win this game, but they have to believe. They have to come in and they have to play. They have to play well offensively, defensively, and perform well on special teams. I mean, they have to take what they did last week and get rid of all the mistakes, hold possession more than what they did. But it's just going to come down to score. Yeah. Georgia's going to put 45 or 50 on Tennessee. Yeah. But can Tennessee put 45 or 50 on Georgia? I
do have a question. Maybe you can give us a little insight. Your leading receiver, Ladd McConkey, went to North Murray High School. Okay, family lives in Chatsworth. What can you tell us about Ladd? Because I mean, he's almost a local kid to us.
Yeah. So the Georgia wide receivers, the big thing for them is that it's been by committee this year, right? I mean, our starting 3 or 4 wide receivers all have gone out with injury this year. Ladd, he's a great young player. I mean, he's led the Dogs for I guess the past 2 or 3 games I want to say it is in receiving. But I think really for Georgia, what we're going to sit there and have to see this week is how well does the defense play and how well how well does the offense run against this Tennessee defense? I mean, you got Zeus, aka Zamir White, but we call him Zeus. How many yards is Zeus going to have? James Cook, which is Dalvin Cook's little, I guess, cousin or brother and brother. And so for the Georgia offense, it's going to be a big test this week against this Tennessee.
Man, those tight ends you have, oh my goodness, those guys are matchup nightmares.
They are, but Tennessee, I mean, Tennessee has some people, that offensive line, if they're healthy, that they're a matchup nightmare for Georgia's offense. I think this week that the best offensive line that Georgia's defense has faced is probably going to be Tennessee. I really do. All
right, guys, a reminder, you can hear the game, both perspectives, the Georgia perspective on 99.1 FM, that's supplied by Wholesale Supply Group, and the Tennessee perspective on Mix 104.1 and Talk 101.3 The Buzz, presented by TVFCU and Honda Cleveland. We'll be back with more in a moment. Back with more and our final segment this week, Rocky Top Review, presented by CHI Memorial. Don't forget, Memorial Convenient Care is open 7 days a week in the public shopping center on Paula Parkway right here in Cleveland. And we are welcoming you in, everybody. It's our final segment, our pick segment of Rocky Top Review on Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, and Mix TV TV ahead of our 3:30 kickoff with Georgia and Tennessee. Let's pick some games now. And overall, guys, it's not an extremely impressive week. There's no doubt about that. But, Josh, you've compiled these for us. I'm going to begin with you. Mississippi State hosting number 17 Auburn. Now, again, this was a noon kickoff. We said off the air earlier, it seems as if all of the major conferences are really promoting bigger games at noon, and we're seeing this again today.
Yeah, and this one will be on ESPN, I believe, and I think the big thing is that you have all these networks, Fox and ESPN, NBC. They're trying to compete after that 11 o'clock hour of College Game Day and continue to drive that traffic. But for me this week, you look at Mississippi State and you look at Auburn. This is really that battle for one of those mid-ranked teams in the West. But for me this week, I'm going to have to go Auburn, being that it's at home down in Plains.
Yeah, it's tough to beat Auburn on the Plains. They took one on the chin last week at A&M. A&M got them 20-3, and so I wonder if they may come into this one beat up a little bit. Maybe they come into it mad, but I'm going to take the Pirate Mississippi State in this one.
Well, that game in progress, our noon games in progress right now, including this one, a good one. Number 8 Oklahoma hosting number 13 Baylor. That is a noon game, which, again, is in progress over on Fox. Jason, I want to start with you.
Well, I think with the young quarterback Oklahoma's got in place now, I think they figured some things out, and they really seem to be rolling. Baylor is, they're doing what Baylor does every few years, is kind of come up and be in the national spotlight a little bit. But I think Oklahoma wins this one.
Baylor, they always come up in that national spotlight, and then they tear back down after these last couple of weeks. So this one's at Baylor. Fox, that's a big game for them. It's going to be rowdy down there in Waco, but I think for them, I think that Oklahoma comes in and they'll stay in that number 8 spot, maybe move up a little bit throughout the rankings here.
All right. Again, those games in progress, but a game which will start later at the same time that UT Georgia will begin, a 3:30 game. Boy, it's a good one. Number 19 Purdue and number 4 Ohio State. Purdue has been a giant killer. They did again this past week when they knocked out Michigan State. That's a 3:30 ABC game. Josh, what do you make of it?
Yeah, and they also beat Iowa earlier this year. I think Iowa at the time was ranked in the AP poll. I think they were ranked like 4th or something like
second.
That. Was it second at the time? Wow. Can you believe that? Iowa ranked second.
Yeah.
My goodness. But hey, Purdue comes into the I can't say that. My mother-in-law, she's a big Ohio State fan. So,
really?
Purdue, they've got a chance maybe, but I got to pick Ohio State for Mimi.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a reason there. Jason?
Well, yeah, they had a big win last week. Michigan State had been absolutely rolling, and Purdue knocks them off 40-29. As Josh mentioned, they'd beaten Iowa earlier in the season. They really have been giant killers. But, man, to go into the Horseshoe at 3:30, I just don't think they can beat Ohio State. Ohio State's number 4 in the polls now, so they're sitting pretty in a playoff position. I think they'll be on edge trying to protect that. Ohio State wins this one.
Really, the game of the week in the SEC, if you look at rankings, Texas A&M hosting Ole Miss tonight at 7 o'clock. That's the ESPN game. It's also the game day location at the Grove this week, Jason, and it's going to be a big night. What happens?
Yeah, sure. Down there on the Grove's always fun. I still maintain this. Lane Kiffin is an overrated coach, and he doesn't win games he's not supposed to. He's not supposed to win this one. Texas A&M takes it to Ole Miss.
7 o'clock kickoff. Is that when it is?
Yep.
It's a long day in the Grove. It's a really long day in the Grove, especially College Game Day being there at 8 a.m. and going from 8 a.m. to, they'll be there at 7. So that's 12 hours of partying for those students down there. It's going to be a ruckus night down at Ole Miss. And with that, the crowd and stadium, players play and coaches coach, but the stadium has a lot to do with the college football and SEC. And that rowdy crowd, I think Ole Miss wins against Texas A&M.
Wow. All right, I've got to do it. The Ivy League game of the week. Yale.
I have to do it.
Princeton is our Ivy League game. Josh, what do you make of it? Yale, Princeton.
Last week was Brown versus Yale, right? And
I don't even know who won.
I don't know either, but I picked Brown because my favorite ice cream is Brown Cow. And so I picked against Yale last week. I'll pick against them again this week, and I'll go with Princeton.
Well, if you're going
that
with
make
Princeton,
sense?
I'll go with Yale.
Okay.
You went last week Brown because of
You don't
yelling.
Like, you don't
Yale.
like people who
Yeah.
yell.
And then I'm going with Princeton for the Prince of Darkness, Stephen Shelton. So there you go. All right, it's the game we're all looking forward to. Georgia comes to Rocky Top at Tennessee, 3:30 kickoff. That's the CBS SEC game. But also, hey, you can turn down old Brad and Gary and listen to either Kessling and Pat on Mix 104.1 on the app or Talk 101.3 The Buzz, or listen to Scott Howard and those guys from the Georgia Network on 99.1. I'm going to begin with Jason Cox.
Maybe we should do something new and fresh for this. Maybe we should get together and do like a Peyton Eli thing, and we watch this game together and just be ridiculous. And,
There you go. That's a good-
I don't
good-
know.
yeah, that's a good idea.
All right.
Eli's got 3 FCC complaints. We'd
Yes.
have about 25
Yes,
if it was
we
the
don't
4
need
of us.
That's
So,
true.
yeah.
That's true. All right. Some keys for Tennessee, okay? Obviously, you can't lose the turnover battle. I would even say that Tennessee's got to be +2 or better in the turnover category. I don't think you can play Georgia straight up, not get some things go your way, and win this game. Our defense has to stand up. They've got to get some stops. It cannot look like it did last week against Kentucky because we're not scoring 45 on Georgia's defense. And then, something we've seen throughout the season, although it's been a few weeks, is this Tennessee offense tends to fall asleep at the wheel. And against a Georgia defense, if you go 3 and out and you take 15 seconds off the clock, if you do that too many times in a row, this game will get out of hand in a hurry. And so those are some keys for Tennessee. I think Georgia wins this game comfortably, but I do think maybe Tennessee shows up. I think we score some points. Maybe we expose something you guys are going to need to work
Who
on.
are you picking?
I'm picking Georgia. So
All right, Josh, what do you make of it?
Boy.
I know.
Hey, so, yeah, I mean, number 1, Georgia versus unranked Tennessee in Knoxville. Number 1 defense in the land. Number top 5 offense, right, of Georgia. Tennessee comes out last week, goes on the road to Kentucky and makes it very interesting and plays Kentucky very well. We always have some issues with Tennessee. We have in the past, right? Injuries. Nick Chubb got injured up in Georgia. The Hail Mary from Dobbs. But this year, I think you see Tennessee come out, play very well early on, but I think Georgia's depth gets Tennessee in the 3rd and 4th quarter. I don't want to put a score on it, but I'm going to say 52-17. Georgia over Tennessee. And, I'm sorry, Scotty, that I didn't pick Tennessee because I know if you were here, you would. But you got me for the Georgia man, and I'm the Georgia Mayfield man, and we're picking Georgia, right?
All right, that's Rocky Top Review for this week. Thanks to CHI Memorial. Kickoff 3:30. Enjoy it. We go to the Ball Network.